I'm Matt Staney, and this is Hiring on All Cylinders, the podcast where we have real conversations with the people shaping the future of talent. Powered by Hire Community, we explore bold ideas and fresh perspectives to help you build exceptional teams and scale with purpose. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by someone who's helping redefine the role of talent acquisition from the inside out. Tommy Hansen, head of recruiting at Juniper Square. Tommy is one of the few TA leaders I've come across who isn't just talking about aligning with the business. He's actually embedding his team into the business. Welcome to Hiring on All Cylinders, Tommy.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
Yeah.
Honored to be here.
Many TA teams still operate on the sidelines in a way, right? They're focusing on filling roles and not necessarily influencing business outcomes. But we know that's where the future is. That's where we need to shift, right? And so your team at Juniper Square seems to be really in the thick of it, right? You're even joining weekly revenue forecasting meetings, we were saying in an earlier conversation, right? And then pipelining meetings. And then you're even recognized, you were recognized recently and awarded the President's Club on behalf of your team because you're actually working with the business in a way that you're driving real revenue and being recognized right there with your own sales organizations. Talk to us about this. How did you embed your team so deeply within those core business operations, and what does that integration actually look like in practice day to day?
Yeah, great question. I think it really comes down to our values. So I will attribute a lot of this to our co-founders early on. One of our core values is think like an owner. And so the expectation of anyone that comes onto Juniper Square is you're running this business like it's your own. And each department leader is really the CEO of that department. And one of the kind of subsets of that core value is transparency. So Alex, our co-founder and CEO, after every board meeting, he will present to the whole company and all hands on here's what's going well, share the decks with us. And so from very early on when I joined, when we were about 100 employees, every month, every quarter, I was understanding what is our GAAP revenue? What's the difference between GAAP revenue and CAR revenue? What do we need to do to get to profitability? How are we going to get to IPO? And as a leader, it's my job to then take that and distill that into the talent team with my amazing team. And so oftentimes when we do have headcount meetings, it's not just about, okay, what type of profile are you looking for? It's what's the impact to the business this role is going to have. So a great example of this is recently working with our go-to-market team. We need to hire 7 new sales roles. My first question was, what's at risk if we don't do this quickly? They said $13.8 million. When you go back to your team and you say, we have the opportunity to help drive $13.8 million, there's this energy that comes from that. And then when you can execute on that and you can celebrate that win, it feels like you're all in it together and you're building this company together and we're all being owners of the business.
That's amazingly smart. I feel like what you're doing there, that's a little different than maybe other TA leaders I've seen, is you're asking the right questions. And when you ask the right questions about the impact your team has, you're almost getting the business, your end client, to recognize it as well. And it changes your perception as a department internally. I think with a recruiting leader just coming around and just asking what they want, like, hi, what's your order?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to see you as an order taker. But if you're coming in as a business person who understands revenue, who understands and can translate how people aspect of the business drives those real revenue outcomes for shareholders, for the company, that is just a change in the relationship, is it not?
100%.
What inspired you to come in and think of it this way? Was it like that in other companies you've worked at?
No, this is definitely the first one. I think TA for so long has been more of that order taker. There's a reason why there's that stereotype. And I think I even fell into that at some points in my career. But when given that opportunity at Juniper Square to come in and really think like an owner, something clicked and something was really exciting about that. And that is what has kept me really engaged. And then being able to bring that to my team and have them think that way and kind of shed those old ways of doing things and think about the new way forward keeps teams engaged. We're a hypergrowth startup. We're almost 800 employees now. We did 302 hires last year with 5 of us. And my team had one of the highest engagement scores in the company. But it's because everything they were doing, even on those really long days, they knew the outcome that that was going to drive for the business. And we're really grateful to work with leaders who recognize us. And so when we win a big deal, oftentimes there's a little shout out to the talent team for helping make that happen, or the broader people team. It goes beyond just talent. Our people business partners, our people operations team, our whole department runs like a strategic advisory firm within Juniper Square.
That's so cool. Let's build on that a little bit. So can you share a moment or maybe something that happened recently where your team's involvement had a very clear impact on the business or revenue, like maybe even, like a direct revenue win?
Absolutely. So I think oftentimes we as TA leaders and recruiters focus on building those relationships with the hiring managers and the department leaders. You have to go a step further. Some of my best friends are the heads of strategy, the chief of staff, business ops, finance. And so within our professional services side of Juniper Square, we do fund administration for private equity, venture capital, and commercial real estate firms. That's part of our business is taking off like crazy. And so we're hiring a lot of people to be able to execute on that. And so our managing director of fund admin has a strategist on the team that is one of his core parts of his role is to work with our team on headcount planning. And so he came to us and he said, one of our largest deals or one of our largest customers wants to triple their investment in Juniper Square. So we have a $7 million expansion deal that's possible, but there's one catch. We need to build a niche, highly skilled team of 7 in under 2 months. Can you go do that? And once you do that, they said they'll sign with us. So now all of a sudden you're working with the managing director, the strategist, the different hiring managers, and trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to go do this? We have the opportunity to help our largest customer become a whole lot larger of a strategic client for us. And so we were able to do that. And when the AE closed the role, my team was called out for being one of the key pillars in helping make that happen.
That's amazing.
Very proud of that.
Talk about true cross-functional collaboration to help the business grow and build a deeper and bigger relationship with one of your largest clients. It's such an amazing case study. I think it's stories like this that more TA leaders, and it doesn't really matter what industry you're in, you could be having this level of conversation, and we should be, right? And so was it you coming in to Juniper Square and asking those types of questions that way, or were they sort of already building this culture? Or maybe they're seeing how effective your team is and really seeing you as a business partner, and so they're getting proactive in their own commercial activities and thinking about it from a talent way. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, did you influence this? Or were they already like that? Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to work at Juniper Square and the people that I work with. We're a blended company of traditional finance and traditional tech and marrying that together.
Yeah.
And so coming to Juniper Square, there's no other company at the time that was like that. And so I had to think differently. So I'll give the credit to them for having a lot of that foundation built, those core values built. But it's about knowing when to seize the opportunity. And so I'm very proud of my team and the broader people team for seizing that opportunity and saying, this is different here. Let's lean into that. Let's become strategic partners. Let's ask questions. Let's slow down to speed up. So yeah, in general, I would say there was a foundation and then we ran with it.
It's awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about future TA org design. So you came to our higher altitude summit yesterday, just amazing, engaging conversation. And one of the big things in the second workshop that I did was around designing a future state TA org. Hearing you in some of those discussions was awesome because it's almost like you're living now what a lot of us are talking about getting to. And so you've really reimagined the modern TA team and what it should look like, especially with your creation of the associate recruiter role. Tell us about that. What was your vision behind this structure? Talk to us about that structure. And then, what are the 3 pillars this role is built around?
Talentful provides flexible recruiting solutions to the world's most ambitious companies. Are you thinking about ways to add flexibility to your talent function? With recent market volatility and hiring set to return to growth mode in the near future, there's never been a better time to choose the right partner to help you scale. Talentful's embedded sourcing, recruiting, coordination, and talent advisory services have been trusted by the world's leading brands. Companies such as Atlassian, Microsoft, Expedia, Pinterest, Waymo, and more. Whether you're hiring across engineering, go-to-market, or G&A, Talentful has got you covered. To find out how Talentful can help you, visit talentful.com.
We're in a time of hypergrowth, and well, first, kudos yesterday. That event was phenomenal,
Thank
and
you.
the energy was fantastic. But one of the core themes of the summit yesterday was we don't know where this is going, and we don't know what AI is going to do. We don't know what the future of hiring is going to look like. So we have to get uncomfortable, and we have to lean in. And so I knew what got my team through last year was not going to get us through this year. We're already breaking all of our systems. And so we had to start this year with a different mindset. And so I sat down with my team and really wanted to understand what was important to them to keep them engaged. How are we going to be strategic partners to the business? But another thing that was top of mind for me was I have a duty as a TA leader to pay it forward to the next generation. And with AI coming in, roles like RCs and sourcers, these foundational roles historically that would give talent that foundation to be strategic advisors later on, they're not going to probably exist. And for sure, they're not going to exist in the traditional way that they have. And it's going to vary if you're a small startup or a large enterprise company. But I wanted to get ahead of that. So I promoted my RC. We only had one, and then got rid of the RC and the sourcer role. And so then this idea of the associate recruiter evolved. And it's kind of a vague title, like what does that mean? But that's purposeful because I don't know how that's going to evolve. And so we just hired someone, and that was part of the hiring conversation. It was like, come in, I'm going to teach you the foundations of coordination, sourcing, talent operations. We're going to give you all those tools so that you can become a full cycle recruiter, or maybe you want to go into talent operations. It's about giving them that foundation, kind of in like a rotational program, if you will, for a couple of years.
That's what I was going to say. It's almost like, you're letting them come in and be sort of a generalist to find out what are the areas that really inspire them and push them towards that path, right?
Absolutely. And part of the hiring conversation too was come in and help us figure out how to better automate coordination while not decreasing our quality of candidate experience. Help us implement new AI tools for sourcing. So they're learning, they're being involved in the process. My whole team we're a lean team, so we're all in it together. And we all always say we're working alongside each other. So this, I don't want to take credit for. This has really been a team effort and us all putting our minds together. And then it's my job to take that from a 1,000-foot view and turn it into a practical new org design that is going to drive outcomes for the business while helping my team continue to learn and grow.
That's great. It's really seems like by taking this view, creating sort of new roles that are agile and flexible creates agility and flexibility in your team. You're almost sort of future proofing your org in that way. Is you're not trying to put people in a certain traditional recruiting role box that eventually might not fit, and where you're like, oh, I guess we have to reduce the team. You're building these generous roles that keeps them flexible and holistic.
Yeah.
So that they can shift into the areas as business changes, as technology changes.
Yeah. One of the big changes when I took over the team a year and a half ago is I got rid of the business versus the tech recruiter. And this was a really interesting, at my roundtable yesterday, a really interesting topic. It was about 50-50. 50% of us felt that we should get rid of that, and a really good recruiter should be able to execute on that either. And the other half at the table was like, no, you can't take a business recruiter and turn them into a super strong technical recruiter. And so I think something that's really important in this era of everything changing is to know what works for me at Juniper Square and my team may not work for another company, but you have to understand your business. You have to understand those company OKRs and work backwards. And for me, it became very clear that at certain times throughout the year, we're going to be going all in on our R&D. And then we're going to scale back. And then we're going to go all in on go-to-market. And so if I kept people in kind of those traditional boxes, if you will, we weren't going to be able to flex to the needs of the business. And so we spent the last year and a half really cross-training the team. And one of our kind of strongest technical recruiters now, has been on my team for 4 years, and for 3 years did all business roles. And she is crushing it. Niche AI roles, security roles. And so I think that's really important too, is to understand what do you need to do from an org design and a skills perspective for your team. Can you have generalist and drive outcomes? Can you not? And for us, we didn't. And that is really paying off
Yeah, I mean,
for us.
specialization is great. And I think as you get to be bigger and you're doing more kind of sort of niche hiring, you need that. But in general, I've always been a proponent that you don't have to be so rigid in the skill sets of a recruiting team. Like tech recruiters are tech recruiters, G&A is G&A, go to market's go to market. Like the best recruiters that I've worked with have had deep experience in all of those and are sort of renaissance people that can scale and flex. Because you may be doing a lot of hiring in engineering for a period of the business, but then once the product's built, most of your hiring now is going on to sales and marketing. Well, you just have to, get rid of that recruiter and get a sales go to market recruiter. No, I mean, like if you can build people who are holistic in their skill sets and understanding of business and hiring, you can be more agile and lean as a team. And then you can bring in maybe an embedded model like Talentful or something like that to fill the gap momentarily. But I just think this whole pattern over these last few years of us, hiring big internal specialized teams, having to lay people off when hiring slows down or shifts, it's not a sustainable model, and I think the way that you're looking at this, I think the way that you're thinking in a more agile, more holistic view, not just holistic view of TA, but the roles or design, how you work and embed with the business is refreshing.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of credit to my team too. I'm very fortunate. Small and lean team. We're growing this year a little bit, but a lot of my team members have been alongside me for 4 years, 3 years, and something I really love and appreciate about them is their drive to want to help Juniper Square grow. And it's not abnormal for my team to come to me and say, I'm comfortable. I don't want to be comfortable. I need something new. So it's like, okay, well, what are some of the outcomes we need to solve for? Go take this on. So a great example of this is one of my recruiters. She started as an RC and now just got promoted to a recruiter 2 role. So she went through that traditional journey before we changed this and really helped shape this new role. But she came to me and she was like, I'm too comfortable. I need something new. And that week we found out we needed to hire our first AI engineering interns. So we hired 8 of them. We did cohort hiring. So shout out to Aspie and Jim and team over there. We heard about that and ran with it. And we got 8 master level AI engineers through process in 6 weeks for a summer internship program. And she led that. And it came from this conversation of, I need a new challenge. I'm ready. Let's do this.
Oh, AI engineering talent is so coveted and hard to find right now. I don't know if you saw the report where you're seeing some tech companies, they're so competitive at those high level AI engineer levels where they're offering like $10 million OTE. I mean,
Yeah.
So to do that in 6 weeks is pretty amazing. Let's talk a little bit about that. What we've talked about in the past, your strategic and embedded recruiting, right? And you're talking about your in-house team here, right? That's phenomenal. So one of the phrases I've heard you use to describe is sort of like field marketing or field sales aspect of recruiting, which I think is a powerful reframe of the recruiting function. Like, what does strategic embedded recruiting mean to you and your team?
Yeah, I think it's a really important topic right now because AI is changing a lot globally and in every aspect of our lives, but TA drastically, and we don't know where it's going to take us. And so in order to really stay ahead of it, the first thing that came to mind for me when I was asked from my leadership team how I thought it would impact the business, I said, recruiting is going to be more human-centric than ever before. I get thousands of LinkedIn messages a week. I wish I could respond to all of them. But now think with AI bots, the emails they're going to get is only going to increase more. So what's going to kind of get through all that noise? The relationships that you have. And so I worked with our head of people, who also really challenges me to think in a different way. And I said, our PBPs are embedded and they're driving a lot of outcomes for the business. My team needs to be embedded too. And I got a chunk of budget for the year to embed my team. And the idea is for them to be out front and center. I want them as thought leaders in the industry. We prioritize relationships like with Hire and Ashby and different teams to stay ahead of the trends. And then we implement that and then we go pay it forward, right? So how can you be thought leaders in the space, both within your company and externally? How can you get out in front of the talent? So part of the embedded model is allowing them to travel to conferences and be with, again, we service private equity. I want them out with people in private equity, going to roundtables at conferences, bringing them out to coffee and dinner and understanding the business inside and out.
And here you are living that value right now. That's
Exactly. But that's what field marketing and embedded means to me. You're deeply embedded in the business. The best compliments my team gets is talent saying, "Oh, I didn't realize you were a recruiter." And we get that all the time. So shout out to my team on that.
So are they they're in the team meetings with them, and they understand the dynamics of the challenges each of these teams are hiring for that are trying to solve, right?
Yep. So you can't be in every team meeting, right?
Well, yeah.
Talent is already spread really thin, but there's core meetings where they're really talking through strategy, roadmap, top priorities. So we're in all of those. And then Juniper Square, we're a remote first company. And so instead of taking budget and building offices everywhere, although we have a few for those who do wish to go into the office, we invest heavily in offsites. And so I want my team to be able to go to those offsites and be there for 2-3 days with the engineering team. So an example of this is one of my recruiters is going to be at the hackathon this year, which is all around AI. My other recruiter, who is a senior manager on my team, she is so deeply embedded in our professional services org that she's going to be at our offsite. She's going to Luxembourg in a couple of weeks to be there for our launch party there because we just acquired a company.
That's awesome.
And right away, the managing director was like, Felicia has to be here. And that is another sign of
Yeah, she's
you
part
are
of the team. Like it wouldn't be our team offsite if she wasn't there,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, it's really cool. And then going back to the thought leader, I want to do another call out for Felicia. She's worked with our managing director on how to go up market. So how do we get these much larger global clients? And that when I talked about that became that massive expansion deal that wouldn't sign unless we built the team. Their CFO had a meeting with Felicia on my team this week because she's like, how do you do what you do? Teach me. And so now Felicia's not only helping to build the teams we need at Juniper Square to be able to service them, she's now advising our client on how they can better hire internally.
That's driving real impact.
Yeah.
Beyond just getting people hired. That's driving deeper relationship with clients. It's a level of collaboration that I think is a wonderful model for how recruiting should be positioned.
Yep.
And set up for success.
Yeah, my advice to TA leaders is try to find these opportunities and give it to the team and let them run with it. And when suddenly they're getting called out for these opportunities, the rest of the team sees that and they get excited and they lean in. And it just becomes this force that is really inspiring. And it's a hard time in TA. And you need that energy right now. You need that impact to be able to keep yourself going. And so one of my favorite things is my weekly team meeting and just the energy that comes from that. And it's because it's all these kudos of how my team is doing that. And you can see people light up and then they have this hunger to figure out how can I do that with the teams I'm supporting right now. It's
really good, especially in this industry right now, to feel valued and appreciated as a recruiting industry. You're right. Our industry has been through the ringer these last, maybe 5 years or so, right? And it just makes me feel really good to hear and to see the environment that your team's operating. And what would be your advice maybe to TA leaders where maybe they're not in a culture that is seeing recruiting as such a valuable partner that's opening the door for that? How can they start to change that influence? How can they start to change that mindset within their leadership teams so they can have that great utopia of feeling valued and adding to the business in ways well beyond just putting butts in seats?
Yeah, sadly, I think that's more of the norm than probably what I've been fortunate enough to experience at Juniper Square. My advice, couple things come to mind. First, TA, for so long, we've been trying to have a seat at the table and we fight the good fight. And then we get so discouraged by that when I talk to a lot of leaders. We don't know where it's going with AI, so we need to invest that energy elsewhere. Invest that energy into what you do have control over. What do you have control over? How are you going to stay ahead of the trends? How are you going to stay authentic to who you are as a leader? How are you going to set your team up for success? And then start focusing on being uncomfortable. And the more you lean into being uncomfortable and trying new things and experimenting, the more you ask questions and kind of throw the ego out and say, Matt, what does that mean? When you're in an intake meeting or a leader is talking about their strategy or their product roadmap, the more you say, I don't know, and please tell me more about that, the more you're going to start to understand. And then start small. Maybe pick one department where you do have a stronger relationship with that executive. Meet with them, understand where are they going over the next couple quarters, and then think about what could we do from a headcount standpoint or a recruiting standpoint to help drive that. Ask questions like revenue and just start having that conversation. Work backwards, get a win there, and then market that.
Yeah,
I
start
go,
telling that story with the data, then start measuring it. You start understanding what that business really cares about, what they're bonused on, right? What's their motivations, right? And then going, how can I add value to that?
absolutely. You
Moving
just see that
gears.
one big impact, and then you go to your next department head and you're like, hey, I want to talk to you about this. Last quarter, we were able to achieve this with our sales team, for example. I want to get a win this quarter like that with you. What are your top priorities? What are you working on? And how can headcount and my team help you make that happen? And then all of a sudden you got another win, and then you just build on that organically from there.
It's fantastic. Tommy, thank you so much for, coming to Summit and sharing this knowledge with 100 of your TA peers, but also taking the time to come in and be on the pod and share your knowledge with even more folks. It's just been a pleasure getting to know you these last couple of days. And so,
Greatly
you know,
appreciate it.
thanks so much for, not just sharing your insights, but also the blueprint for what is possible for TA and how it can show up in an organization and partner with the business deeply, right? And so to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in to Hiring on All Cylinders. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe on our LinkedIn page, as well as on Spotify or anywhere where you enjoy your favorite podcasts. Until next time.